Hey everybody, it's the Living A Course in Miracles discussion group, and it is January 19th, 2018, and we are discussing Chapter 10 of the Ken Wapnick Living A Course in Miracles. So everybody tell us where you're from and what you're excited about. I'm Angela Irving, and I'm excited to be on a call with all of y'all and have a great discussion.
Yeah. Randy and Viola Krebs, South Jordan, Utah. Excited to share our notes of Chapter 10 and try to rid ourselves of our ego.
Cool.
Christian Stanbury, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm excited about today's call because I missed the last couple ones, so I'm glad to be here this time.
Yay, glad to have you back. And nice
Thanks.
to meet you.
Same.
And I'm Langdon Tompkins. I'm actually a time traveller because it's now Saturday where I am, and I'm pleased to be here. And also, I'm fine tuning this ego thing at the moment, so I'm getting down to the minutiae. I did all the big stuff a year or so ago, and it's the subtle stuff now.
Awesome.
Probably harder. You can't see it. It's harder to detect. Yeah. So anyway.
Very cool. Thanks.
That's okay.
Jared, you want to say something?
Now what, Angela?
No, I said, Jared, you want to say something? Was I too quiet?
He's probably pulling in luggage.
I'm in the car. I'll come on later.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here. I'm watching.
Yay. Okay, well, let's share our highlights of Chapter 10 then. So I have notes as usual. So, all right. So if the world was over long ago, where does that leave me? I'm an after image. Okay, my second note I'm going to share for the end because I feel like it's a discussion. Spiritual paths are not the same as the... Oh, wait, that's the same thing. Never mind. Okay. Wow, I have like 3 bullet points that are like the same point. Okay. When people are terrified of undoing the ego, then they choose a different ladder. Maybe the ACIM ladder, which is when people start groups and write books and stuff, which is funny because here we are in a group. But I think it was an interesting, I think I listened to this a bunch of times and I feel like I got the point that he was trying to make, where it's kind of, you can even make this a distraction from actually working on yourself or working on your ego. So, but I was like, that's interesting. Yeah, here we are in a group. Cool. All right. If you think this course is easy, you're not paying attention to it. I thought that was, yeah, I don't feel like it is. So, yay. If your ego is not struggling against this course, it's because your ego has embraced it and made it its own. And you should be very wary of that. So it's like another way that one can make this very practice into a distraction. So I thought that was an interesting point. Okay, so the one that I thought would be a really interesting discussion, or just kind of like, I have mixed feelings about this, was how he talked about just pick one path. He was really intense about it. I mean, he's intense about a lot of things, but I was a Buddhist for a while, and I feel like it has influenced my progress into this path. And so I feel like I understand what he's saying. Like, it would be hard for me to practice Buddhism at the same time as practicing this, but then at the same time, Person and Arden were always talking about, oh, it doesn't matter what spiritual path you are. Like, this isn't a religion. This is something that you can add to everything that you do. So I know that there are some ACIM people that are like, oh, that, Gernard guy, blah. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting that could be an interesting discussion. Like, what are y'all thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. The co-president of the Foundation for Inner Peace right now, Dr. Bob Rosenthal, he's Jewish. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Ken Wapnick was Jewish too, even though he was going to be a Catholic monk. I think that the thought system of A Course in Miracles, or the Holy Spirit's thought system, can be used no matter what. religion you're a part of. There's a lot of Buddhists that use the Course and stuff like that too. And like, it's not a religion within itself. And I guess you know what's true and you know what's not true. And with spirituality, you take what works and you drop what doesn't. And but I think if you are subscribed or you're a part of a particular religion, that's fine too. But in your heart, you know what's true and what's not. I think you kind of just like go with what you know is true and stick to that.
I think you're right. You know, if you've, I sort of came to Course in Miracles through Disappearance of the Universe, but before I read about, you know, Arten and Pursah, I'd come to the conclusion that Jesus wouldn't be a Christian in a million years. He'd be a Buddhist. You know, he just, to me, it was all about peace and joy, really, not, you know, all the blood and gore that goes with Christianity and stuff. Yeah. And it's a Buddhist that I've been bouncing off of since I've been doing the course, because I haven't got anybody apart from you guys to talk to about it. So, and Buddhism is very similar. There's the illusion, there's the duality, and I think in Course, not Course in Miracles, in Disappearance of the Universe, it's spoken about, and the only thing that's missing in Buddhism is God, really.
Yeah.
And you know, all the different things in the East, you know, they go along with a lot of the Course in Miracles stuff, but there's always something they seem to miss out. You know, if they're so close, and then the ego, you know, puts a spanner in the works and stops the thing just, you know, opening the door and letting you in. And that is the thing about the ego, isn't it? Really, it's constantly just tapping you on the shoulder and saying, you're really a person, you know, you're really landing, you know, you're not really what what this course is saying. And, you know, and the course and the ego is really in control most of the time. It wants us to believe we're a body and we're a personality and we've got grievances and all the jazz, you know. And that's why I say I seem to have got to a point where not that the course is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but the really big forgiveness things are kind of out the way now. It's the minutiae, the you know, like today, I mentioned earlier before we went on that we've got horses, and Lizzie loves her 2 horses, and I do too, but I'm not a great fan of riding. And but she likes to go out with me, and I fell off a couple of years ago off another horse, one of ours, and it hit me hard. I hit the ground hard, and it hit me hard. And I didn't get on the horse until about 2 weeks ago, and we went out for a ride, and it was quite uncomfortable. And I was glad I did it, but I was doing the ego thing where I was making a sacrifice of it. You know, I was doing it for her because, you know, and I was the victim, Anyway, today she wanted to go out again. And again, I didn't really want to go. And I thought, no, I must go. And then I thought, I'm going to look at it differently today. I'm going to look at it through the eyes of the spirit. And it was a bit like that work thing last week when I didn't want to go. And, you know, I had that bad feeling. And I decided, no, I don't want to see it like this. I want to see it differently. So anyway, we went out for a ride and we had a great time. And we went the same way we went last week. I wasn't uncomfortable. The saddle was more comfortable. The horses were fantastic, didn't do anything silly. And on the way back, I thought, do you know, I actually enjoyed it. And, you know, and it's really about how you feel. It's, you know, we make the ego makes us feel all these feelings, whether they be fear or joy or I don't know, anguish, disappointment. You know, it's a long list, isn't it?
I think you were being vigilant only for God and His kingdom by deciding ahead of time that you were going to look at it differently. You know. Yeah,
it's that holy instant. It's the ego doesn't want you to actually have one.
Yeah.
You know, The ego is constantly distracting you, or it'll give you an ache in the back or something, and then you start thinking about that, and then and then you think, hang on, I'm being played. So forgive and release the ache in the back, and the ache in the back might not go, but it's no longer pushing your buttons. It's still there. It's not like the miracles of the Bible were like conjuring tricks, weren't they? Click your fingers, instant reaction. Well, miracles aren't like that. They're a little bit more gentle. I've always found when you do a forgiveness, the feeling that you had before you did the forgiveness drains away. I think I've described it as being like sand running out of an egg timer. You feel it just lift and go. And then, like I say, you might still have the ache, but it no longer seems to bother you. Whereas before, you couldn't stop thinking about it. And then it gets worse, and then it feels more painful. And it's, I don't know. It's the difference between ego and spirit. That's all I can describe it as.
Well, thanks.
Angela.
Somebody else. What's up?
I wanted to say something about your discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of reel it back to the different paths that Dr. Wapnick was talking about. What I understood in chapter 10 was that just choose a path. Choose one. They all lead to the same place. I think he actually said that. They all lead to the same place, and don't try to intermix them. Don't try. But then that was kind of like, wait a minute. It seemed like on a previous something or other that we studied, it was like, don't intermix them. Like you want to like choose it and choose a path and just go. So anyway, that's what I got out of the stick to the path that you choose, and they all lead to the same place. So I'm like, oh, so as long as you stay like on that path.
Gotcha. So you're not like going to a temple and then going to a church and then going to the ACIM group like all at the same time, kind of like.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like that's my question. Like I mean, you can go visit, but like choose kind of like one central guiding set of.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with content, and that we're a mind. I think like because even like. Ken and Bill Thetford and Helen, they used to go to like Catholic mass, and one of them was a Jew, but sticking to the thought system of the course and the Holy Spirit, it's really an internal thing, and it's all about content rather than form, and so what you do doesn't matter as much as what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I grew up Catholic, and so I went to mass, and I was a very, very religious Catholic forever. And then about 3 years ago, it didn't make sense to me, so I kind of quit going to church. And now I'm like, oh, I can actually go back to church, and as long as I'm aware, because now I know about the course, and now that I'm aware of the Holy Spirit and the differences. But I just don't really know how that would mix. Like I wouldn't want to be like a what do you call it? Just kind of like pretend. I don't want to be like a Catholic mass pretend.
Yeah, yeah, and like for us course students, we know forgiveness works. We've tried it. That's what we need to practice.
Yeah, that was forgiveness.
Yeah, we know about forgiveness. We know about deciding that we want to see things with vision, with the Holy Spirit's thought system. We know that's peaceful. We know that we have egos. Like the whole thought system fits together, and like holographically, and we just remind ourselves of the truth, especially if our buttons get pushed, and we just practice that. So we're one step ahead of the game in the sense that we're not on the spiritual buffet line anymore, and we can practice what we know.
Well, some people are on the buffet line. I feel like I'm kind of like trying to define like what the buffet line is by this, this discussion. You know what I mean? Because like I always think of spiritual paths as kind of like rafts. Of course, that's a thing from the Buddhist tradition anyway. Like use it while it works, and then when it no longer works, like discard it and then go find a different raft until you don't need rafts anymore. And so I don't know, I feel like that's been working for me, but I was just hearing what Ken was saying. I was like, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's important to do what works for you, and you know what works. Like my first couple years doing the course, I read the course front to back, more than once, did the workbook very diligently. And then for a while, I would just read Ken Wapnick or other books about the course, but not the course. I won't read that because it was just too threatening. I had too many experiences and stuff. And
oh, wow.
And so I've been fearful, but just actually like this week I started reading it more. Instead of just reading a page or two a day, I'm reading more because that's what works for me, and I find Gary Renard's work works for me. That really encourages me to practice forgiveness. So whatever gets me actually practicing, then that's what works for me.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. Anybody else have any more comments on my discussion point?
No.
No.
Right, well, thanks for indulging. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of, I took some notes. I always have to take notes because otherwise I will not remember all the stuff. But basically what I got out of chapter 10 was you don't have to let anything go. You just have to look at it. Ken was saying that, but we don't want to look because it's a defense in our individuality. So we don't want to look, but really that's all we have to do is look. You don't even have to let anything go. And what I really liked was I have a lot of high points here. The ladder, how it kind of, I actually made it look like a ladder here. Yeah, so like the decision maker is at the top, and then the individual, and then sinful, fearful, guilty self is the third rung, and then body in a world is the fourth rung, and then victim is at the bottom. And we're at the bottom having to work up. And Ken Wapnick said that we want to get to the bottom and then we want to just skip all of those, but you can't skip them. You have to go back. And it teaches us to recognize what the dream is and who the dreamer really is. You choose between your brother and yourself. Oh, this was really good at the end. You choose between your brother and yourself. Either you are happy or I am happy. Both can't be. One person's guilty or the other's not. That's kind of what our ego is telling us. One person's innocent or not, and it must be one or the other. It can't be like both. So I really like the massive dream exercise at the end.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
The narrator actually. I recorded it and I have it, so I can just do it whenever I want. But I thought this was a really good chapter.
Yeah. Thanks, Viola.
Yeah, adding to what Viola had, I think it was early on in the chapter, he talked about the rock bottom. I think the ladder, the rock bottom is birth. It's the bottom of the ladder. You're here because of what happened to your parents.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, okay. Yeah, they did bring me into this rock bottom. And yeah, again, more on choosing the ladder, which, is the Course in Miracle the right ladder? Maybe not for everyone. So yeah, I also enjoyed this chapter as well.
Cool. Thanks, Randy. Who's next? Sharing their highlights.
I think it's quite, the special relationships thing. We make, I think there was a reference to somebody who had a special relationship with a niece or something, or someone. And she was really ready to sort of transcend. But she said, when I no longer have got this like an idol thing hanging on to this relationship, I'll be ready to go. And that's kind of what happened. And I think there's this. I think the Course in Miracles, it might be Gary says, if we were to wake up when we first start doing this, it would be, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And there's that latent fear. And in some of my darker times with the Course, I've experienced some pretty scary stuff, usually waking up in the morning. I don't have nightmares, but I do have stupid fears when I wake up. I'll be frightened of something really silly, and it's quite scary. And that's when I usually do my mantra, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm as God created me. And that's, that usually sort of wakes me up into the, right side of the bed. But that seems to have departed a bit now, but which is good. But I had about 6 months of that, and I think that was the ego really trying to, give me a hard time. And then and at the moment, I suppose I'm in a bit of a lull, because I said I'm sort of doing the minutiae. I hope it's not a lull before another storm. Let's put it that way. Yeah. You okay there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Langdon. So who else wants to share their highlights from chapter 10? Christian?
I really should start taking notes, because I just listened to it like an hour ago and 3 hours ago. And already, I think you pretty much covered all the highlights that I remember from the call, or from the recording. Yeah, there was one more, but I forgot.
Maybe somebody will jog your memory.
Yeah.
I think there's one other thing that I just thought of, is that it seemed like the main story of this chapter was the difference between climbing up the ladder and finding the ladder, and how don't get confused between oh, look, I found the ladder, I'm good. It's like, once you found the ladder, okay, now you need to go up it. Because otherwise you're not going to be done. And I think that was it sounded like that was one of the main points that he was trying to make.
Practice true prayer, which I'm extremely resistant to. I used to meditate a lot when I first did the workbook some years ago, and had a lot of experiences, but over the years, I really resist resting with the Holy Spirit. And so that's one thing that I kind of struggle with, but again, I don't need to worry about it so much. It's a process.
Yeah.
And my willingness will grow, especially as my tolerance for pain starts reducing.
Right, for sure. Cool. Thanks, Christian. Nathan.
Hello.
What you got?
Okay. I wrote down, to seek within means to go back to the choice point in your mind. So I like that, because I think seeking within is kind of one of the terms that triggers level confusion for me. And I think, I just go within and I ask what do I need to do to make the rice not stick tonight? And then I remember, so I thought that was a good definition to remind me that the choice point is deciding whether or not I'm really here. That's it.
Cool. Thanks, Nathan. Jared, you want to talk now, or you want to talk at the very, very end?
So I'll go real quick. The very end of the audio where they had you look at your eyes. Everything you see is a dream. Every smell from your nose, everything you smell is a dream. Everything you taste is a dream. Everything you hear is a dream. Everything you touch is a dream. You do not exist.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I was like, yes. And so I just, like, me and my mom recorded that on our note memo of our phone so we could listen to that in the night. So like before bed, you know, and you say your prayers. So like last night before we went to bed, Mom and Dad and me and Crystal were all in the room. We were just laying there and we listened to that together. And my dad was like, "What the heck?" Because he hadn't heard that
basically
part
starting
yet.
a cult.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But like, seriously though, I totally loved that you know, that this body is truly a puppet, and it's hiding the guilt of the mind, and there's this mind underneath all of this body and world that we don't even remember. And that's where the decision was made, and we're starting to remember and learn. And it just blows my mind, you know, like being at the airport with like thousands of people and like thinking it's just all the sonship fragmented into these bodies, and just like what a deal the ego has done. Like, holy crap. And we're so backwards, and we have no idea.
Yeah.
And like, so, you know, like all that, and I think it's caused me to just not take everything so seriously. And at the same time, I've been using magic and law of attraction like hardcore this week, and I've had like a really good week in, you know, the false universe. But like, I don't feel bad about it either. You know?
Yeah, you're living, you know, you're seemingly here.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, good thing I got this magic, so at least I can use that while I seem to be here. But like, but yeah, so like those are my real highlights. I really like how Ken Wapnick, like my mom said, talked about how you have the different levels. Like you have the decision maker, and then the decision maker chose with the individual, and chose to be an individual, and then that created a sinful, fearful, guilty self. And that led to a body in a world. And then that led to being a victim. And he just said it like, boom, 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 boom. Like he said it real fast in the audio. He's like, and this leads to that, and that leads to this, and that. And I'm like, whoa, rewind. And we literally rewound it.
Or 8 or something like that.
No, that was this chapter.
Oh,
it was this chapter.
Like laid it out. Didn't he lay it out on another chapter?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he laid it out. So he laid it out in other chapters, but this time he just kind of threw it out there in the middle of whatever, and we rewound it and wrote it out. So those were my main highlights. You know, this was a 30-minute audio, but now I'm like pumped because the next one's an hour-long audio. So
yeah.
But anyway, so that was my highlights, and it was really awesome to listen to it in the kitchen with my mom.
Yay.
We had a fabulous time, Mom. So, yes.
Awesome. All right. I guess we're moving on to the section of talking about our forgiveness in the field. And it's funny because my stories are never like, oh, I forgave this person or I forgave that person. It's, I don't know, it's always just kind of like general practice stuff. I am really trying hard to create a regular meditation practice for I'm doing the course, and I'm on to lesson 72, and every time I do it, it's amazing because I hear words from the Holy Spirit, and that is fun and neat and
wicked.
yeah. So I just need to make that happen in my imaginary life schedule. So that's been kind of like the latest development, and I feel like I'm really diving into the lessons and really being able to feel them and reverberate them, which is really neat. So, that's
so cool.
Awesome. I'll go next on, I just wanted to share with you my experience and what I was aware of when I was on the operating table. Because I just went through surgery, and the surgeon took out the cancer and did all the hysterectomy and all that. But it was like for me, it was like, because I've been doing the course, I was looking at all these people paying attention to my ego body and doing things to me. And it was like magic. It's the magic that, you know, one of the magics. And it was just kind of like being on that table, the anesthesiologist is there, starting an IV, you got the nurses doing their thing, and then you're out. Like seriously, you don't even know they can do it. They do anything they want to your body. And then you wake up. And it was just kind of like surreal, because you wake up and all of a sudden there's all these loved ones around you. So there's still this like specialness, you know, the specialness for my ego body that like, and it's not, none of it's real. So I could really kind of like stand back and look at everything from a distance, as well as being there as the center of attraction. Wow. It was a very successful surgery. So that really alleviated all my fears that I've had building up to this point. And, but it was just one of those, if I hadn't had the course, I don't know how I would even like be able to relate to standing up here and just like kind of looking down at all these people that are just kind of paying attention and doing their jobs and, you know, working on me. But anyway, so there was a lot of forgiveness in that whole situation, because I just had to forgive the whole thing, you know, just forgive it, because it's not real. It's just not real. But now I'm going through recovery, and there's no such thing as pain. so it's like I'm still working on my mind. There's no pain. I mean, I do have some pain, but what I'm trying to say is in Cindy Renard's book, she was like, what is the purpose of the body? What is the purpose of the body? And also, there is no such thing as pain. I am not guilty and I'm innocent. So with all that, when I do have a pain or something, I say those things and it seems to go away. It really is a practice that I have to keep doing. But I'm just really grateful to have learned all this magic. and So anyway, I think that's my big one for the week. It's been 7 days, right? It's my surgery.
8 days now.
Yeah.
It was a week ago, Thursday, yesterday.
Cool. That's great.
Nice.
It is. I'm an internal optimist, and I went into this being very optimistic, and you know, knowing that the body could have issues, but no, the surgery was above and beyond, and Viola's recovery, but above and beyond my optimism. She's done amazing. And a lot of it, I think, the Course in Miracle as well, for giving her that mindset that on the pain. Her pain tolerance has been amazing, or you know, our lack of pain to her. So, which you talk to a lot of people going through the surgery prior, you hear a few horror stories. A lot of it's based on, number one, she kept care of herself health-wise, and her mindset going into it.
And it's all an illusion anyway.
Yeah.
Good job.
So wacky. So wacky to think about all that.
Yeah.
This is an illusion, guys. This call is an illusion.
It's all
Anyway,
fake.
who wants to speak next in the illusion?
What does that make you? An after image.
Yup.
Yeah.
I like how Langdon, that first call when he joined, he's like, oh yeah, Ken Wapnick sounds like a gangster, you know? This is a course where I'll bring around the boys, you know?
You'll break your legs.
Always
He really does that a lot.
listening to some of the movies.
Especially in this chapter. Like, he sounded so... Why you're banging your head against the wall? That's why there's blood streaming down your face.
I know. He's so intense.
We've been watching some of the movies in Gary Renard's book, the 10 movies that he recommended. And
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
watched The Sixth Sense today. I watched it. And Hereafter, I watched that with Jared and Crystal yesterday. Hereafter, and Nathan, We Could Never Find As It Is in Heaven. It was like
I watched that one. I just bought it last week.
You gotta find it.
Is it, you have to buy it, right? You have to like buy the physical.
I did.
product.
You had Crystal on it though, didn't you?
Crystal, I think she said you had to buy it. It was like
okay.
a Swedish, it's from Sweden, Swedish film,
Yeah.
right?
Subtitles.
You bought it on Amazon?
Yeah.
Has anyone posted this list of movies that Kara and I suggest people watch?
I've got it right here.
Ooh, sweet. I can't really.
This is actually Crystal's list.
Okay.
Wrote it all down. Was it Groundhog Day, The Sixth Sense,
Oh,
Hereafter?
Groundhog Day, that's great.
Yeah, Ben-Hur, The Matrix, As It Is in Heaven, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, Truly, Madly, Deeply, Made in Heaven, and Somewhere in Time.
And he said there's even more that like he can't even mention, you know. There's so many with like concepts with like similar concepts and, you know, metaphysical ideas, and like, especially since we're at that time where people are more comfortable with those kind of ideas, you know, since the Matrix and quantum physics and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think about the Matrix often, actually, because it does. I mean, it seems like that's the description of what this is. Like, no, we're really we're not, you know, here really.
It's the holodeck in Star Trek, isn't it?
Exactly.
I don't know Star Trek as well.
It's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's an illusion. But you go into this room and there's this world in there, and there's people walking around, and you know, you can touch them and feed. You know, you can feel everything. It's all there. And then the lights go out, and you're just in a room with a broom cupboard. You know, and out you go. Yeah, that's all it is. When the lights go out, it all disappears.
Fun times. All right, who else wants to share forgiveness lessons?
Yeah, it's me, isn't it, now, I guess.
Sure.
I've been doing this thing where, well, you know, there's this thing about, well, for me, and I think other people experience this, is there's quite a lot of opposition to the forgiveness, you know, for the Course in Miracles. You know, if you go up to somebody and say, I'm a Course in Miracles student, and you start talking about it, then people can get quite upset. And, you know, I've given the Disappearance of the Universe to various people, and they get to page 15 and they throw it away. They can't get past page 15. I don't know why. There's this, or they won't even open the book. You know, there's this sort of repellence. To me, it was like, I've read it 8 or 9 times, and every time I read it, I get something new. And the Course in Miracles, I think, is it can get under people's skin, you know. And so what? But what it also says in A Course in Miracles is you don't have to go. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing it. You can do it in complete anonymity. So in the early days, because the thing is, things change. As you forgive people, they change. So it gets easier. But when it was really bad, I thought, well, I'm just going to keep this to myself and just do what I do, you know. And I did this forgiveness thing, and what's been really kind of amazing, you know, is the power of forgiveness. And I'm meeting people. There are a lot of people who are quite sick, and I thought, well, you know, I'll just do what I have to do. You know, they don't know I'm doing it. I'm just sat in front of them thinking what I have to think. And I'm seeing these people like a year later, and they look younger. They're well. They haven't been ill since. And you know, and of course there was this other thing. I think Gary said about, he was in a lift or something, and a little girl came out, and he thought, you know, he'd do the forgiveness thing on this little girl as she walked past. So I forgive people, you know, when I'm shopping and when I'm driving around. You know, if I remember, if the ego doesn't make me forget, I will do it, you know, and somebody's filling up their car with petrol, and I think, yeah, okay, you're all forgiven and released, and then pass by. So I think that's you know, it's just ludicrously simple, isn't it, really? Yeah. But what isn't ludicrously simple is remembering to do it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what is difficult about Course in Miracles. It's the holy instance, and actually remembering to stop and think, hang on, there's another way of looking at this, or I need to ask for a bit of help, or whatever. It's when you're on one, isn't it? Something's pressed a button and you spend half an hour having a good old think. Mm-hmm. And in that think, you've written War and Peace about all sorts of rubbish that also isn't real. and I see it in television programs. There's this series which you probably have already seen called, it's a family thing. It's This Is Us, I think it's called. And it's it's an absolute ego fest, but it's about a family, and everybody gets the wrong end of the stick, makes up stuff. You know, I'm the victim. You don't love me. All this sort of stuff, and they all love one another. You know, really a lot. But they're all got hang-ups. One's got a body image problem. The other one's a film star, but he can't cope with it. And the other one's he's adopted, and he's a different colour to his brother and sister. So they've all got little, issues which have become enormous issues, and it's all done by the ego. Yeah. And everything in it is an ego fest, and and I look at it and I think, well, instead of thinking that, if you just stopped yourself for a second and forgave it, and then the problem wouldn't have any interest anymore, would it? Because it would all, they'd all sort of hug one another and start laughing, and it'd all be, and then there wouldn't be a program. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't sound very interested to me.
Yeah, all the lights would go on, and there'd be nothing there. So anyway, that's my take on this week. Anyway, and it's practicing it, isn't it? I've read the course 3 times now, and I was going through it again, but I've eased off. This is another thing. Gary says, or it might have been Arthur and Percy. You can actually overdo it if you're not careful. So I've sort of eased off reading and just concentrating on practicing. So and I've left the buffet alone as well. Because we've all been there, haven't we?
I haven't left the buffet.
You're still enjoying it. I saw you having a little nibble when you came on. Look nice.
For my forgiveness in the field, was this morning. I woke up ready to start my poker session because that's all I do right now, and I started to get frustrated about everything all around me as soon as I wake up. Like, as soon as I opened my bedroom door, something frustrated me, and I just and I was getting frustrated for a while, for like a good hour, and then I was like, wait. I might as well practice forgiveness on this. I don't feel like having this kind of day all day. So I use the thought process from the end of chapter 5, which is like, I must have decided wrongly because I am not at peace.
Hey.
Within myself, but I can also decide otherwise. I want to decide otherwise because I want to be at peace. I do not feel guilty because the Holy Spirit will undo all the consequences of my wrong decision if I will let him. I choose to let him by allowing him to decide for God for me. And then, but that wasn't quite enough. I still had to kind of like talk to God a little bit and just kind of like spout off the thought system a little bit, like just talking to God, but like just repeating ideas with the whole thought system and talking about it and stuff, and then a little bit of closing eyes, and the rest of my day went fantastic.
Great, that's awesome. I love how you just spout off quotes. It's pretty cool.
I don't think he was reading it either, was he? You weren't reading that, were you?
No.
Nope.
No, I've memorized quite a bit of it. I used to actually have a lot more memorized, but I've taken years off here and there and stuff. But
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nathan.
Wait, I gotta sneeze.
Uh-oh. Forgive it.
Yeah, all's forgiven.
Thanks, guys. So pretty calm week. There's one thing that I can share with you though. One thing that I really wanted to do this week was onboard this guy named Tim to this new project that I'm doing. And so I just thought it was going to work out easy peasy, and then he didn't want to do it. And I was surprised enough that I started judging him and thinking about how my project was going to fail and bad things are going to happen to me. and, you know, feeling like a victim. And then luckily I remembered to forgive. And now I actually have a little Post-it on my computer in my office because I remembered, I don't know, as I was doing kind of my morning visualization, I started thinking about how I have all these forgiveness opportunities during the day, even with like every email that I go through, because I had to get through a lot of emails today. And so I decided to put up that Post-it, and it was pretty helpful. I think I probably had 6 times as many successful, you know, rememberings of the holy instant than I normally would.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
Yay, thanks, Nathan. Okay, so we have 14 minutes. Jared, do you want to jump on here and tell us
Yes.
forgiveness stuffs?
All right,
Hey,
guys. Can you see me?
Oh, hey, wait.
Yeah, it's space.
Hey, guys.
Yo.
So I'm home now.
Uh-oh, you're disappeared. We can't hear you.
Like,
Okay, you're still muted.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go. Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'm home now, and so last night me and Crystal were going to bed, and she had her the light on, like the lamp, and I need darkness to sleep, and I wear blinders, you know, like over my eyes.
Mhm.
I wear earplugs in my ears, like I'm deaf and dumb, and I sleep great. So she's got the light on, and you know, we have to fly out, and we have to wake up early to pack, and I'm just like waiting for her to turn off the light.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, baby, I'm waiting for you to turn off the light. She's like, I just need a little longer. And then she just like takes her time, and I just get mad, and I'm just upset, and I'm just like, baby, turn off the light. Like, and I just got so mad. And then she like turns off the light, and then, you know, I like go and try and cuddle with her, and she's like, and she like elbows me, and she's mad, and then I get mad, and I'm like, you're so inconsiderate. We have to wake up early. And then she's like, I didn't know you were waiting for me. And we were just like mad. and I was just like riled up, and I had to like, I mean, I was like on a pain body attack, you know, and I was like, okay. And I laid back on my side of the bed, and I'm like, and I closed my eyes, and I'm like, okay, Holy Spirit, please help me remove the conditions that led to the upset or led to the fear. And I just like kept saying that because I was so far down like the ego thought system that I just couldn't even get myself out of it, you know? So I just like sat there probably for like 5 minutes, just like on my back. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm sorry I kept the light on. And she like apologized. And I was not expecting that, because she doesn't usually do like just do that like out of the blue. I really thought she was going to sleep. And like, so eventually we calmed down, and we both was able to kind of like go to sleep. And I used my landmark. I was like, in the future, I will, if I'm upset, I will just I will share it with you in a loving way. And like, anyway, long story short, like, thank goodness we have the Holy Spirit's thought system, because I would have been like really upset for like probably all night and not slept, and instead of 30 minutes or 40 minutes of you know, it could have been 2-3 hours of like being upset. So like that was a big win. Forgiveness in the field, you know, to be able to turn it around and catch it. It happens at the times when I least expect it, you know. So there you go, that's my forgiveness in the field.
Cool. Thanks, Jared.
Yes.
Christian's doing the arm thing.
Oh, thanks, Christian. I can't see that on my phone. Oh, wait, there we go.
Yeah. Arm
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
The muscle emoji.
Muscle emoji.
Yeah, muscle emoji.
Did you lose weight, Jared?
I did. Can you tell?
Yeah.
I didn't feed him.
Thank you. I've been working out 6 days a week for the last 9 weeks and doing insanity workout.
Holy
And I'm
crap.
about to go work out right
would
now.
do the insanity workout.
Nice.
If I had to guess, that's
dieting
what I would
too?
have guessed.
Yeah, and then I've been doing intermittent fasting, which means it's a fancy word to mean that I stop eating at 8 o'clock and then I don't start eating again till noon the next day. So, but when I eat from 12 to 8, it's not that hard. And sometimes I break my own rule. So, but like for the most part, I've done pretty good. And yeah, it's been really awesome. Actually, it's been exciting. And Gary Renard inspired me on that call like 3 months ago, and I was like, I know it's form, but I want to lose 10 pounds. And Gary Renard said, he's like, I went bowling, and we were bowling with these balls, and it was about 10 pounds. He's like, yeah, do it. And he just like encouraged me to like lose 10
That's
pounds.
a lot of weight, you know? Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. It was kind of like Gary Renard like kind of encouraged me to do it, you know? So
Cool.
anyway, that's what happened.
Cool. Well,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Looks like we have a new person on for the last 8 minutes. Rosalia, would you like to say your highlights from chapter 10? Rosalia? I guess not. If you just listen. I don't know. Are you able to talk to us?
She does not have her microphone active.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess maybe she's just on to listen. Well, does anyone else want to have anything that they want to add to the discussion of chapter 10 or forgiveness in the field or?
There was a small thing I was going to add, which was like I was talking to someone the other day who's a course student, and like, yeah, and I was like saying that I have resistance to meditating and stuff like that, and I was like, why? I know what to do, like, but why don't I do it? You know? And he was like, basically, like, you think that what the Holy Spirit wants to give you is a threat or a bad thing or a negative thing. You know? So like I have this warped view because I believe in the ego thought system. So everything's like upside down for me or us, and like, so I feel like threatened by the Holy Spirit, or so it's all part of that resistance thing and stuff. But it was good to bring it to the light, you know, a little bit more.
Yeah.
And just remember that I would be a lot happier, and eventually I'm going to be, because I will listen to it.
Yeah, chipping away at that resistance. I definitely feel the resistance myself at times, so I get it.
Good on you for doing the workbook and stuff. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I started October 16th, and yeah, it's been really good. I don't do exactly one a day. I sometimes do one again if I don't practice it enough to my estimation. But yeah, it's really, when I'm really, really thinking about it and really getting into it, it's very powerful. Today was grievances are an attack on God's salvation. And I mean, anytime I felt a grievance coming on, I was like, haha, grievances are an attack on God's salvation. And then poof.
Wicked.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, anybody else?
Nope.
All right. Well, I guess let's finish this call with our normal good night and God bless. Everyone on mute. Good night and God bless.
Good night and God bless. Good night and God bless.
See you next week.
See you next week.
I'm going to bed.
Oh, I have to say, I'm going to be gone the next 2 weeks. Sorry, guys.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We'll miss you.
rehearsals. Yeah, I'm going to miss you guys too. I have rehearsals exactly during the time that we have this call. but I'm going to be lead role in 2 little operas. So
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, thanks.
Nice.
So
All right.
good
Well,
cause.
Good to see you all again.
yeah,
Yeah.
good to see you, Christian. See you guys.
Till soon. Bye.
All the best.
Bye.